Good. What was that? Good. I can't do it, man. Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to the... Oh, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what's so funny. I'm so sorry that I'm late. Oh my goodness. I was trying to make a coffee. I was dealing with the kids. Like, you know how it goes. And I'm just sorry. I'm sorry, chat. I'm very sorry. Okay. Oh my God. Sometimes you just got the giggles, man. You can't shake it. That's what's going on. I'm trying to do the intro proper and everyone's looking at me. Stop looking at me for a second. I'm getting shy. Oh my God, that's funny. Good morning, Canada. Welcome to episode of Question Period. Today is November 6, 2025. And this is the final week. No, it's not the final week. They have a week off next week. So this is the final day, I suppose, of relevant question period. Well, relevant parliament stuff. Friday, usually nothing crazy happens unless something super crazy happens, if that makes any sense. Then they're off next week, so we're gonna see how the news cycle goes, and then we're heading into that final end of November, December stretch, and then it's Christmas. It's Christmas again soon. Didn't we just have Christmas like 2 months ago? Where's the time going? What's happening? I feel like we just had Christmas 2 months ago. Anyways, oh my goodness, man. This is interesting because tensions are really high in Canada. Tensions are really high with the fact that you got the Conservative MP who crossed the floor. And yeah, of course, it sparked so much outrage. It sparked outrage even from CTV political analysts. They're like, I don't like floor crossings. You know what's interesting about floor crossings is they're glorified when it benefits your team. And they're hated when it's against you. And that's kind of the predicament we're in right now. Like even Andrew Scheer, Melissa Lantsman, they've all glorified floor crossings in the past. And now it's like, wow, what the heck's going on? You're giving the Liberals a majority and are closer to a majority. And I don't blame people for the outrage. I don't blame people at all. And it's interesting. It's a very touchy subject because you'd almost think that like it would spark some form of a by-election to be like, hey, can this guy actually just cross into the other party? Because once it happens consistently, then it just becomes like a routine thing. And that invites more and more people to do it. And so it's a very tricky and delicate situation. But I want to pass the question off to you guys. Like, how do you feel about this? Are you pro floor crossings? Are you just angry that it's against us? Or do you just like hate floor crossings in general? Let me know what you guys think. I also want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for being here, for being loyal, whether you're like a regular viewer or casual viewer or something of a hybrid of the sorts. You know, people are very active in the chat. People, have post notifications turned on. Lots of reoccurring names that I see in the chat and comments, stuff like that. So just like shout out to you guys, man. Thank you for sticking around. And whether you're like only subscribed to House of Canada and you're not subscribed to my plethora of other channels, or you are subscribed to the other ones and you find yourself consistently popping into House of Canada, I just want to give a massive thanks to all of you. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of news to take a look at today. Quite a bit before question period starts. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I try to be on time. This one I was like very particularly late. I'll do better. I'll try to be better. Okay. Now that we got all that sensitive stuff out of the way, let's take a look now at what's going on with floor crossings in Canada, because you have mainstream media political analysts apparently have a problem with floor crossings in Canada, and I want to see what it is that they have a problem with exactly.
All right, I want to bring in CTV's political commentator and the former leader of the NDP this morning. We've got a whole bunch of things to discuss with you this morning. Tom, good to see you.
Good to see you, Marcia.
So let's talk about the minority Liberals outstretching their arms to welcome Chris d'Entremont. What does it say to you about the state of the Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre's leadership? And we should mention, Tom, that we haven't heard from Poilievre specifically on this yet.
No, he's been sending out Andrew Scheer and other people to beat up on Chris d'Entremont for crossing the floor. You know, you mentioned in the intro that I'm the former head of the NDP. It was the only party in Parliament that had a firm rule against floor crossing. For us in the NDP, it was always a question of ethics. You got elected with that party, you can become an independent, but you can't become a member of our caucus until you run. That actually happened when I was leader, 2015. Maria Morani, very respected, serious person. I mean, she's a criminologist who's well known. She was with the Bloc, and for reasons that for us were very noble, she said she couldn't stand the Bloc's attitude towards minorities. She left the party and wanted to come with us. We said, look, run in the election, which she did, and that's fine, but you can't be part of caucus. For us, it's a question of principle. You can't become an NDPer. It's not fair for your voters because you didn't run for the NDP in the election, and I think that that's the right way to look at it. Chris d'Entremont, of course, it has his own view. The people in his riding, as we just heard in that Vox Pop, seem to be okay with it largely, but it's not just about him or about the Liberals. It's really about a question of parliamentary ethics, and some great work has been done on this. It was a book just published, a big book by people who hold the chair from the Jarzowski Foundation in political ethics, and it's No I in Team is the name of the book, and it's a great book, and it talks exactly about this type of thing, floor crossing amongst others, and I have a real problem with it. I still do today.
You have a problem?
That's interesting that he has a problem with floor crossings, but when Jagmeet Singh was in this like multi-year coalition with Justin Trudeau, he didn't really criticize it. He didn't say, he had an opportunity. He was still a political commentator, political analyst for CTV last year and the year prior and the year prior to that, while Jagmeet was sucking at the teat of Justin Trudeau. And he could have used this platform to be like, hey, not only am I against floor crossings, but I'm also against like coalitions and all that stuff, right? Or maybe I'm just looking for a reason to be angry. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of, there's parallels to it. I know they're different. I know flow crossing is like you're going from one team to the next, but coalitions isn't it like kind of similar? Like you're just trying to use each other. I understand that's kind of what politics is, but, or maybe I'm just stretching. I don't know. I feel like there's relevancy in what I just said.
With it. I'm also wondering, and I'm sure you heard Scott Reid, he was describing that fever that was going through Ottawa yesterday. Yeah. There was all this speculation that there were going to be
a whole bunch of others.
Yeah, 5 or more people, could be, a great big mess, all kinds of political intrigue. That didn't happen. But having said that, Tom, do you see others crossing the floor? And I just have to ask the question, how much guts does it take to do that?
Takes a lot because, of course, the people who won from the Conservatives under Mr. Poilievre were swimming against a very strong Liberal tide under Carney. So they're the ones who tend to have the most conservative ridings. But I will tell you this. I've rarely seen so many Conservatives talk on the record and off the record about how upset they were about the attack by Pierre Poilievre against the RCMP. That was absolutely not on for many of them. It was totally unseemly for the leader of the opposition to do what he did. He tried to change his story after saying he was talking about one individual leader. All you have to do is read what he actually said. He talked about the RCMP, and it was not at all in character for the Conservative Party to have a leader attacking the RCMP the way he did.
So,
yeah, that was a weird thing, right? Like, didn't he just straight up say that Trudeau should have been jailed, which is something that we can agree on. Most of us can agree on that there should have been some form of repercussions or jailing from the Trudeau era. And then he like walked it back or something, like weirdly. I don't know. It's like double down, dude. That's the thing, is double down on it. Like, Canada historically hasn't really embraced this might be an unpopular opinion, and I'm sorry if it pisses people off, but it needs to be said. Okay, either you're in or you're out when it comes to the tactic with conservatism in Canada. You can be a strong conservative without being the Trump type, right? And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but we know that Trump is like out there. He says like crazy things, like very shocking and headliney things, right? And some people like it, some people don't. It's irrelevant. Canada historically hasn't really embraced that. And Pierre Poilievre, when he was against Trudeau, he was kind of doing that. He was saying very like headliney things about Trudeau, bashing Trudeau, which we all embraced because it wasn't so much about the fact that it was finally someone in Canada was being a little bit like Trump, just like way out there. But it was more the fact that somebody was finally saying the shit to Trudeau that needed to be said. It was very isolated to Trudeau. Like that doesn't exist before Trudeau, and I don't know if it exists after Trudeau. And as much as I like Trump, I don't know if that mentality, that approach to politics in Canada really works. Like it might work for you, and it works for me. Like I like that Trump style stuff. I like the chaos. I love it. It's entertaining. But like Canadians, like the average normie or the average liberal or conservative or centrist, the average voter in Canada doesn't really like that. And so I think that Pierre's approach is he's somewhat dabbled into that, like that style, right? That I want to call it like a Trump style. Let's just say it as it is. But then he pulls back on it, and you're either in or you're out is my approach to it, is my analysis. And if he's in, if he commits fully, then commit fully and say the things that need to be said. Or don't commit fully and go back to appealing to the centrists. But Canada, like conservatives have never won by appealing to the centrists, right? It's been over 10 years now. So that's just my analysis. I could be wrong. We can agree to disagree on things. It's okay.
Where do you think this goes from here, Tom? Do you see others following?
Well, we'll find out if D'Entremont is right. I mean, he's the one who let slip or indicated that there might be others. And others said to him, "Oh, I understand. What you're doing, that sort of thing."
You think it was a slip?
Well, no. I think that the Liberals knew that he had information, but is that information really valid? In other words, is it somebody, an old buddy of his, saying in the Conservative caucus, "I get you, buddy. I totally understand." And he took that to mean, oh, they're crossing the floor too? Or is it actual preparedness to do that? The Conservatives have made it as uncomfortable as they possibly could for Mr. D'Entremont. The attacks have been quite personal. But it's not even about D'Entremont. I sincerely believe it's about the institution itself. This is how it works. You put yourself forward. You say, this is my party. This is what I stand for. Vote for me. You can't just change that 6 months later and say, oh, everything's changed and now I'm going to go with another party. That's not fair for the people who voted for you.
And then lastly, do you think that this is taking away from substantive conversation about the budget, Tom?
Well, it won't take away for long because Elizabeth May, I think, had a really good take on the budget with regard to its shortcomings on environment, which are many. It was such a surprise to see that from somebody who knows as much about environment and sustainable development as Mark Carney. And there's no leader in the G7 who knows as much as him. And yet, canceling a tree planting program to bring 2 billion trees to be planted. We lost over 8 billion trees just in the 2023 wildfires. It was about time we started doing something to correct that. Then he says he's going to remove, emissions caps on oil and gas if we can come up with a way to hold on to carbon, to sequester carbon. Well, guess what? Trees are the best way to do that. So it was all a muddle with regard to the progressive side. And Carney's already being tasked, with being far too conservative. And the one thing that he could have shown a little bit of, more progressive leaning attitude on the environment, he completely messed up. So I'm not convinced. I'm pretty sure Elizabeth May is not going to get to vote, won't vote for this thing, unless, of course, Carney does something unexpected and changes, for example, the cancellation cancellation of the tree planting program. I'm looking at the NDP. I can't see how any of them can vote for this thing. I mean, you're promising to furlough tens of thousands of civil servants, and the civil service unions have always been the backbone of your support, and you're going to go along and vote for that? Good luck with that. So I think that, it's going to be very close one way or the other. By the way, keep an eye on the block. This is a famous game that sometimes gets played. They've been huffing and puffing and saying, "Whoa, we had, these couldn't be discussed. We had these absolute requirements for the budget, and we're going to vote against it." Yeah, let's see if everybody from the bloc actually shows up for the vote. I'm convinced that to a person, every single member of the Conservative caucus will be there to vote against the budget. I'm not worried about that. But keep an eye on the bloc, because they have to go before the NDP in terms of the vote. And I'd love to see whether or not they're actually all going to be there, or they're going to give themselves a little bit of a cushion just to make sure the government doesn't fall and we're into an election. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want an election. Marcia, sending Canadians to the polls in the middle of the Christmas season, again, you'd get pummeled, whoever provoked that.
I don't always agree with Tom. In fact, I rarely agree with Tom. But on this point, I fully agree. An election right now is not good. Not good at all. And I'm sorry, like, maybe you think differently. Maybe you think Pierre would win like some magical majority. I don't. I wish I could fall with that belief, but I really don't, because when we look at who is actually controlling any form of a narrative right now, it's still the Liberals. The Liberals still have the media pushing their agenda. The Liberals are still the ones, even though they're failing to negotiate with America and secure a trade deal with Trump, they're still the ones that are the one doing it, and they can still manipulate and control that narrative. The Conservatives have an opportunity. They had, and they still have an opportunity to try to redirect that narrative, but I don't think it's nearly enough to sway any voters. In fact, I think the Conservatives would actually lose some seats, and I think that the Liberals would gain the majority, because that's just how it is in Canada. We're just a progressive country, and I think that the Liberals would be more strongly motivated and incentivized to go to vote to give that majority than the Conservatives would to go and vote and block the Liberal majority. That's just how I see it. There's not enough political momentum right now for, one, a massive turnout at the polls. Like, maybe it's just me, right? Like, we can only speak using our own set of experiences and our own bias, and my bias is I'm like politically exhausted. I'm so politically exhausted. Like, I wouldn't even want to go to the poll myself and vote. I just wouldn't. Like, what the hell's the point? That's just how I feel. Would I go to the poll right now next week if there was an election? I don't know. But right now, today, if I had to vote, I'd be like, fuck, I don't want to. Like, I'm just so sick and tired of it, right? What's the point? So maybe that's just my bias. Maybe that's just me feeling defeated. I don't know. Maybe you have a different set of views on it. So let me know down in the comments how you feel about it. Do you think that the Conservatives would win in an election next week? Do you think the Liberals would? Let me know your reasoning down below. Next, we're taking a look at Scott Reed. Scott Reed, the angry dork with the dorky glasses. And he has, well, some anti-Pierre narratives that he wants to push. So let's take a look and let's see if it has any validity. I don't think it does. I really don't, but let's take a look.
So let's talk, first of all, about Chris d'Entremont's move. What does it signal to you about the state of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre's leadership, which will be tested formally in January? What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a difference between caucus and the rank and file. My guess is, notwithstanding this event, Pierre Poilievre is probably in good shape when it comes to marshalling the rank and file, the Conservative Party members. I think he has a firm control over that. We'll see. There's a run on the Pierre Poilievre bank. If we see 2, 3, 4 more members of Parliament in his caucus cross the floor to the Liberals, well, then that could create a crisis. But, you know, in terms of one member of Parliament, it's a punch. It's not a deadly punch. It's a blow. It's not a fatal blow for Poilievre. But it did serve as a big distraction at a time when Poilievre wanted to use the budget as a platform to demonstrate that he could be an alternative prime minister, that the program that Mark Carney is delivering isn't the right one for the country, and he can take us in a better direction. All of that got lost. Instead, he played defense the entire time and frankly had to stay away from cameras because he didn't want to just answer questions about whether or not his leadership was receiving a vote of non-confidence from at least one member of his own caucus.
Are you surprised we haven't heard from him on this defection yet?
I think it's a tactical decision to go to ground because, one, he didn't want to answer questions about what that means for his leadership and why it is that a red Tory, a moderate conservative, no longer feels comfortable in his party and his caucus. And two, I think they were very much in fear that Chris D'Entremont yesterday was not going to be the only defection. I mean, there was a fever gripping Parliament Hill yesterday. People were telling me, like, get ready, strap in, buckle up. You could be on TV all day, dude. There could be 5, 6 members of Parliament from the Conservative caucus walking on. I'm not kidding. I had people literally telling me yesterday there could be as many as 6 defections from the Conservatives. Now, that's all hyperbole. At the end of the day, that didn't happen. A couple of the names that people have really circled in red ink came out, made statements, or released videos saying, I'm staying where I am. So Poilievre battened down the hatches. But that's the point. He wasn't on television talking about the budget. He wasn't on television talking about a program for people and what makes sense for them. He had to stay behind the scenes, work his own caucus, and make certain that his own job remains secure. That is not an expression of strength as a political leader.
I want to turn now to Jean Chrétien, the comments that he made last night. I was at that event. I heard him criticizing the premiers using the notwithstanding clause a little too freely or liberally, if you will. What do you think?
Well, I think he's right, and I think it's astonishing that this discussion isn't a bigger discussion in the country. And, you know, if anybody has the moral authority or the expertise to speak with command on this issue, is Jean Chrétien. He was literally in the room when the charter was brought into existence with Section 33, the notwithstanding clause. And if anyone can say with certainty that the entire purpose was to use it in only the most extraordinary of circumstances, and that the assumption of those that gave birth to it was that it would rarely be employed, if ever, it is Jean Chrétien who is in a position to say that. And he's quite correct. Now we have provincial governments using it preemptively to protect legislation they're introducing, whether it's to remove the collective right to bargain, as we're seeing in Alberta, whether it's potential for other minority rights being trampled on in the province of Quebec. And, you know, I think what Mr. Chrétien is saying, and it requires real discussion and debate, is we cannot always allow majority legislatures to just play at whims with people's rights and to deny those minority groups the right to appeal to the courts to protect their rights. I don't know that the public will respond, but thank goodness his voice is loud and clear on this.
Scott, good to see you this morning. Scott Reid is CTV's political comment.
Yeah, I don't know. Scott Reid's a little, he's a little on the dopey side of things there. I wouldn't listen to what he has to say, but it is fun to make fun of him. So let me know down in the comments what you would like to say to Scott Reid to make fun of him. Let's take a look at this video here. How the Liberals are in hot pursuit to snag more MPs, but must weigh the benefits.
This story could be headed. We are joined from Ottawa this morning by Robert Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail. Bob, thanks for coming on this morning. You're reporting Conservative MPs, more, could be considering crossing the floor by the next week. What are you hearing, and how many?
Well, this has been going on for some time after the Liberals won a minority government, but votes shy of a majority, they began to work not only the Conservatives, but talking to other members of Parliament to see, but particularly Conservatives who are red Tories, to see if they would cross the floor. And it didn't go anywhere when the House of Commons came back, but with the budget coming up, they began to work a little harder, and they managed to get Mr. Anacott to come across the floor. And now we are hearing that there are at least 2 other Conservative MPs that they have talked to. They are in pursuit of. I'm said that they are in hot pursuit, but a deal hasn't been closed yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, this is a big thing for any member of Parliament to cross the floor. If they were elected as a Conservative, for example, many members of the party will obviously be very upset. Some of their constituents will be too. So you have to weigh that in on whether this is a good thing for your constituents and your party. In the case of the MP who crossed the floor, he was a red Conservative. He represented Nova Scotia, the only MP from that area, and he just became very unhappy with Pierre Poilievre and the direction the party was taking, so he walked over to the Liberals. And the reason for that is that Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, is...
I personally think the craziest part of all this about him walking over is the fact that it was done so quickly. Like, never once did he publicly express discontent or concern with the direction of the Conservative Party. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he never once came out and said, yeah, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, there was never any drama associated with it. And I don't know if that's me just fishing for wanting more drama, but insiders, like other Conservative MPs, have said that even this was a shocker. The fact that it was a shocker like this and done in this way, I don't know. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, shouldn't his financials be just kind of taken... investigated slightly, like that, out of nowhere, just poof, out of nowhere, poof. Now he's a Liberal. That's odd. Sometimes you can see it coming, right? Like Freeland, for example. Okay, so Freeland last year, 12 months ago, she was supposed to table Trudeau's budget, and she was like, "Nah, I'm good." But there was a lot of tensions leading up to that, right? I mean, she was still pretty loyal to Trudeau, but you could tell in her interviews and the way she would talk, there was like some tensions going on. And then she just stayed kind of silent for a little bit and then announced that she was running for prime minister, leader of the party. Like there was a buildup, and now she's gone. She's the envoy. She's envoy to Ukraine. She's quietly disappeared. Like, that narrative made sense for her to just fizzle out the way she did, because we saw it coming. It makes more sense when you can actually say, like, oh yeah, okay, that I can make sense of that. But this one here, it's hard to make sense of it.
Is a centrist, more of a, if you want to say, a red Tory, but a Chrétien Liberal. He's in the middle. And Mr. Chrétien, during his many years in power, had a lot of Liberal MPs who could have been progressive Conservatives or Conservatives. So he's making a lot of these people feel more comfortable within the Liberal Party.
So that's people feeling more confident with the Liberals. Let's talk about the Conservatives right now. We know that Mr. Poilievre is facing a leadership review in January, and sort of when you look over the calendar year, he was not able to win this election. He was not able to win his seat. He has now lost at least one member of his caucus to the Liberals, with rumors to be at least 2 more. This is not a good tally sheet when you're heading into a leadership review.
No, it isn't. And it's also really bad caucus management. During the toughest times, I'm going to take you back in a little bit of history, but during the toughest times during Brian Mulroney's reign, for example, he kept that caucus together because he listened to people. He spent time talking to them. Mr. Poilievre has surrounded himself with a clique of very right-wing conservatives, and they don't reach out to the caucus like they used to, and they control.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, but the Conservative Party of Canada is not surrounded by very right-wing politicians. I'm sorry, but we don't really have right-wing politicians that are elected. If we're using the Republican Party and Trump as the right-wing kind of standard, then no, it's not even close. We have a bunch of liberals and progressives, centrists. We barely touch the surface of right wing. It's not like they can maybe like arm's length away, but it's not really. They're not right wing. That's a very weird thing to say. The fact that this dude here who works for the Globe and Mail is trying to label Pierre's party as something it's not. No.
Like Mr. Maroney did, and they can try to control MPs with a very tight rein. Now he's loosened up after the election.
A right-wing I'm still stuck on this. A right-wing conservative can easily, without fear of being called racist, because you know you're going to be called a racist, saying, yeah, no, all the Indians that have come here, all the Indians from India, right? All the people that have come from other countries, all the people that have been abusing our asylum claims, all the people that have been abusing our immigration, yeah, deport their ass. Bye-bye. Go back to your country. Sorry. Come back at a different time. Like, that's right wing. To be able to easily say that, that's like very surface level right wing. It actually gets substantially a little bit more amped up. Okay? We're not gonna go there right now. But we're thinking it, okay? We're thinking it. That's right wing. That has not happened. No. The Conservative Party's like, yeah, we're going to like cut temporary foreign workers. No. You want right wing, buddy? Okay, it's going to be a little racist. It's going to be a bumpy ride. That's right wing. And it's not true racism. It's not true racism, but it's called and labeled as racism.
Campaign, because it really infuriated a lot of conservative MPs. But that noose is still around the necks of many of them. And it's going to be a problem for him in the caucus. When you try to control your members and don't listen to them, you're going to be into a lot of trouble. And the Liberals are working very, very hard at trying to snag away some of these members of Parliament who are leaning to the center and not so much from the right. And this is going to be a potential problem for him. I think he's going to win the leadership vote in January, but by how much is going to be the factor. If he cannot walk away with more than 68% of the vote, then he'll be in serious trouble.
Well, but adding to that, if he does lose two more, which then hands the Liberals a majority government, you have to add that to the tally sheet, that now you've handed the Conservatives a majority government. Could that impact more adversely that leadership review that we're looking at now? I mean, those are big negatives in the minus column.
You're absolutely right on that. If for some reason he gets another two conservative MPs to walk over to the Liberals and he gets a majority government, that means he's free for the next 4 years. He doesn't have to worry about being defeated. He can bring forward the economic plans that he wants to do for the country, and it will really put Mr. Poilievre in a bad light. He's the convention. The people who will be voting at the convention will have to ask themselves, why have conservative MPs left? What is wrong with this guy? And also, he's got to answer this as well. 20% of he's behind Mark Carney by 20% of the votes. The Conservative Party and the Liberals are actually very close together in the polls, but when you look at the leaders, Mr. Carney leads them by 20%. That's got to be a problem when you go into the voting booth for the leadership vote in January, whether you say to yourself, is he really the right person to lead the party?
And when then your mind starts to wander of, well, who else could lead in the party? But that's a whole other segment that we will bring you back for. Bob Fife,
we can come on and tell you about that.
Oh, I'm glad. There, you've said it on the air, and now you have to follow through. Bob Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail.
Yeah, no, like it's so funny how these these freaking gay little nerds get on mainstream media and they're like, oh, it's right wing and the Conservative Party is like a bunch of they're a bunch of like right-wing extremists. Like, no, dude, it's not even close. Like, Pierre hasn't called for mass deportations. At least he hasn't done it in an impactful way. He's dabbled in it. He hasn't said, you know what, India, sorry, but like, no, just no more, right? Hey, Africa, nah, no more. Like, we're closing those gates. Hey, all the countries that are receiving money because we give millions of dollars so that we can put up signs on beaches in Africa saying don't poop on the beaches. Meanwhile, we've got Indians pooping on our beaches here in Canada. No, sorry, we're not doing that anymore. Like, that's like right wing, and it gets, like I said, it gets amped up, but the media doesn't understand that. They think that saying, I think that we've got a little bit too many temporary foreign workers and we should address that. They're like, oh my God, that's right wing extremism. No, dude, let's go have a beer and let's talk. We can show you what right wing extremism actually is. I don't know, man. Like, this shit is just, it makes me feel like, when I watch the news in Canada, it makes me feel like we're living in like rainbows and butterflies land, you know, like everything's just so weirdly woke. It's like pride 24/7. It's bizarre. Or am I just having a bad day? I don't know. That was a weird video to watch. That was a very weird video. But I think that's what the problem is with Canada. It's just, it's very weird, all around weird. Anyways, let's take a look now at this. I don't even know what to call this. Let's take a look at the bald guy with glasses from CBC, because, well, he's got some stuff to say about the Conservatives who are quitting, the Conservative who quit and joined the Liberals. Let's have a look.
Okay, so passing the federal budget could be a little bit easier for the government after that Nova Scotia MP, Chris d'Entremont, crossed the floor to the Liberals.
Chris's decision to join the government caucus at this crucial moment for our country is exceptionally valuable and important.
Okay, here to talk more about this floor crossing and its fallout are the CBC's JP Tasker and Kate McKenna, who, like every reporter in Ottawa, has been calling Conservatives all day. I think that's what's going on. So, JP, a budget day of deficits and defections. Walk us through what happened today when the caucus got together.
Yeah, a little over 12 hours after crossing the floors to the Liberals, MP Chris d'Entremont was on hand for a post-budget press conference this morning with the Prime Minister, and it was a chance for reporters to ask him, why are you leaving your party? Why are you leaving a political movement that you've been part of for most of your adult life? And d'Entremont's answer was relatively simple. He said it was Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. He says he's a red Tory and feels like he doesn't have a home anymore in Poilievre's party, and he also said he is bristling at Poilievre's negative approach to politics. Let's have a listen to what he said.
I wasn't feeling that I was aligned with the ideals of what the leader of the opposition had been talking about. So I've been sort of relooking at, you know, what my career is bringing and what I can do for my constituency. So over the last little bit, talking to many of my friends in the Liberal Party, as Deputy Speaker, I got to know.
Do you think that this is a problem, what he just said? Let me explain something. When we watch politics in America, you see two parties, Democrats and Republicans. And I don't think that Trump off camera is friends with AOC. And I don't think AOC off camera is friends with JD Vance. I think they genuinely think that each other are retards. Now, factually, can they both be, or can one side be? That's up to you to decide. But in Canada, that's not the case, dude. They don't hate each other. They dislike each other on camera for short amounts of time. And then off camera, they're friends with each other. And like, this is something that I've kind of ignored a little bit when we watch Question Period. Do you know what I'm saying? This is something that I like. You see, even with Trudeau, okay, Pierre would be sitting there and he would be talking to Trudeau, like calm, like they'd be like laughing, you know, they're like, oh yeah, what's going on, right? I'm not trying to suggest that like Pierre was buddies with Trudeau, not at all. But he does the same thing with Carney. And like Andrew Scheer will walk over and talk to like Karina Gould, and Andrew Scheer will walk over and talk to Freeland, like casually, like they'll laugh. Like you can see it sometimes. You can actually see it. And for this conservative MP, this ex-conservative MP who used to be deputy speaker, which I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, is a bit of a moderate position because your job is to mediate the debate. It's like one of the most powerful positions in Parliament, right? You can like kick people out, you can mute people, you can do whatever. I get that he had that job once upon a time, but he's a conservative. And I'm not suggesting that conservative MPs should fucking hate liberal MPs. I don't think that that's the answer. But in a divisive time like where we are right now, where we're so politically far apart, it's not like the budget was $60 billion and the conservatives are pushing for like, well, we'd like to see it at 55 billion, but you know, I guess we could settle for 60. It's not like we're close on things. Okay. Liberals want to let pedos run loose and conservatives are like, lock their fucking ass up. Liberals want to let murderers and rapists back out into the streets because why would you discriminate against them? And conservatives are like, oh, fuck, don't lock them up. Liberals want to take your guns and conservatives are like, no, we want you to have your guns because that's insane. Liberals want more government. The conservatives are like, nah, we want less government. That's insane. Liberals want you to rely on them for everything. And the conservatives are like, no, man, just live your life, go work, invest, and we don't really want to be involved in your life every day. We actually want you to not even really think of us. So right now, the political divide is huge in America and in Canada. It's like a cultural thing. And I think a lot of this shit started around COVID, like the real division, like the huge division. Ever since then, it's just crazy. That's why you see riots and protests all the time. Okay, so let's take all of that information and let's analyze it and go, okay, the political divide is huge. The culture war is huge. You've got on one side indoctrination. They want to teach your kids how to be gay at a young age. They want to teach them that at 2 years old, hey, you know what? If you're born a male, you can just be a female if you want, and you can go and cut your stuff off, and it is what it is, right? It's okay. It's okay. And on the other side, it's supposed to be, fuck no, that's absolutely insane, and we're not going to do that at all. We're going to live and let live and just like stop trying to indoctrinate an entire group of people. This is insane. We know and we understand the political divide is massive. So you would think that if you have this opposing of views, you wouldn't be friends with the enemy, right? Like, I'm not saying that they should walk down the hallways and be like, hey, buddy, fuck you. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily the right approach. Like, you and me could do that. But like, our politicians are supposed to be a little bit more professional, right? Maybe off camera, sure. But man, they're all friends. That's why you hear people in Canada say, oh, uniparty, uniparty, uniparty. And like, what? I can't see. What's a uniparty? Never heard of it. But we're seeing it now. Like this dork just said his friends with the liberals. I spoke to a lot of my friends with the liberals. I spoke to a lot of my friends with the liberals. How pissed off would you be? Okay, let me just break it down even more because I'm just free flowing right now. How pissed off would you be if moi, Mr. Sunshine Baby, okay, who built these channels and hundreds of thousands of followers, hundreds of millions of views, biggest F Trudeau person on YouTube, okay? How pissed would you be if that was all fake, right? If Trudeau was actually like my uncle, right? And I got to go to the Rideau cottage and like all the F Trudeau stickers, I did not see that coming. So like, all that was just fake. How pissed would you be if I was on camera? Yeah, Trudeau sucks, dude. Wow. Fuck Trudeau. But then privately, oh, hey, hold on a second. Hey, Uncle Trudeau? Yeah, yo, JT, Justin, I'll be there. Thanks, man. Yeah, send the PJ, send the jet. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye. Hold on a second. Yo, JT, what's up? Oh, Katy Perry's going to join us? Sick. All right, cool, man. Thanks. Okay, bye-bye. how pissed would you be? You'd be like, oh shit, that was fake as hell. What the hell are we doing watching this dude? Why are we even listening to this guy if he says one thing and does another? Wouldn't you be pissed? So now take that theory. Don't apply it to me because it's not true. I was just using myself as an example. And now look at these guys, because that's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on is they're like, yeah, the liberals suck. And then they turn around and they're like, well, actually, I spoke to all my liberal friends, which is 90% of the caucus, and they decided, hey, you know what? It might be a little bit safer over here. It's a bit more of a safe space. That's what this dude just said. Am I hyper focusing on something or am I on to something here? Because I feel like that's a little fucked up. I'm not expecting Pierre to be like running down the halls. If I see Carney, I'm gonna fuck him up. You know, doing the windmill thing. I'm gonna fuck him up. I'm not expecting that. But at the same time, like, I don't expect them to be friends if they get on camera and they're speaking to a country and their policies that they're trying to push is literal polar opposites of what the liberals are trying to push. I expect a little bit of animosity. Not like UFC cage match, but I also don't expect it to be fake like the WWE. And it's not just this guy. It's not just this guy. Like, he's not the only guy. Okay? I see people saying that he's a traitor. And yes, sure, say those things. Because he did just throw the Conservative Party and the Conservative movement under the bus. But the problem is not just this singular dude, okay? You have to understand. It's so many other people. So many other people in the Conservatives and in the Liberals are buddies. Just like how Chris right here, D'Entremont, is buddies with the... Like, it's not just him. It's other people. And I just feel like I'm being lied to right now. And it pisses me off. Because if I found out that Pierre Poilievre was actually good buddies with Justin Trudeau, just like how if you found out that I was somehow good buddies or distant cousins or whatever of Justin Trudeau and I hung out with him privately on the weekends and we just made fun of the fact that we're making so much money or whatever, right? Like, I think you'd be pissed, just like how I'm pissed about this. Except one of those things is true and one of those things is not. I'm not friends with the Liberals. I'm not friends with Justin Trudeau. I don't like them. I don't like him. I don't like the wokeness. I don't like what it's doing to my country. I don't like what it's doing to the future for my kids. So I'm not friends with them. I'm not friends with the liberal politicians, but these people are. And it's weird. It's weird because you and I, it's not just a job. It's our lives. It's a culture war. Like, this shit affects us every single day. And to these people, it's just a job. They just turn it on and off. Okay, it's on. We're rolling. Okay. Yeah, no, the Liberals are horrible. What a crazy deficit. This is insane. Cameras are off. We're good. We're private. Hey, yeah. So, JT, you want to come out for lunch? Bring KP, right? Katy Perry as well. Oh, let's go do some karaoke. Like, I don't know if I'm overreacting here because I'm just talking to myself into a microphone in a small room into a camera, but I feel like this should anger people a little bit.
A lot of those members personally ask questions, see what's going on, and understanding the point that we are in Canadian history, where it's time to actually try to lead a country, to try to make it better, and not try to knock it down, not to continue to be negative.
So he doesn't want to knock down the government anymore. He wants to be part of that government and try and solve some of the problems that the country is facing. We saw the Prime Minister welcome him with open arms. He says he admires D'Entremont for his courage, for making the tough decision to cross the floor like this. We also heard from Prime Minister Mark Carney that he is having other conversations with other MPs, suggesting that there might be other floor crossers in the future, although it doesn't seem like that is happening at this point. But certainly he made it clear that there are conversations that are on ongoing. And we also heard from D'Entremont himself that there are other Tory MPs who feel the same way that he does. He says that there are other MPs that are in the same boat as him, feeling disaffected by Pierre Poilievre and his leadership style. We saw the Liberal caucus really open its arms to D'Entremont today. It was really quite a remarkable sight. They were jubilant to see him, right? Some of them were cheering Chris, Chris, Chris. There was a very enthusiastic reception to him. Some people were hugging him. And I think they're probably as happy as they were because now they're only 2 seats short of a majority government. By adding D'Entremont on that floor crossing, it really kind of changes the electoral math, changes the equation in the House of Commons when it comes to votes, including potentially on the budget. As for the Conservatives, a completely different reaction, as you can imagine, to this development. We heard from some MPs calling D'Entremont a liar, a coward, saying he's betrayed the party, he's betrayed the voters that sent him to Ottawa just 6 months ago. So there's a lot of hurt feelings on that side of the House today.
Yeah, no question. And Kate, it was interesting, like last night, there was a frenzy of rumors after the budget and the defection of more. And a lot of Conservatives were thinking, uh-oh, we're going to lose and give Mark Carney a majority. It's a different vibe today. So what are your sources telling you about whether there could be more?
Well, I think that's exactly right. Overnight, rumor mill was in full swing. Even before Chris D'Entremont came out and said, I think there are others who are in the same boat as me. You know, one of the first calls I got this morning, 6:45 a.m., was a Conservative telling me they thought 2 more were coming today. Depending on who you talk to, it could have been between 2 and 7 potentially Conservatives who were thinking about crossing the floor. Of course, that didn't happen so far. And, you know, politics is the art of managing expectations. They are down 1 MP, but they're not down 7 MPs, and so for some people,
it's a win.
It's a win. You know, as the day wore on, it appears some of the wind has been knocked out of those sails. We know that there has been some caucus outreach, to put it mildly. Some MPs have been receiving phone calls, checking to see where they're at. At the center of some of the speculation that was so rampant today was Edmonton MP Matt Jeneroux. He was rumored to be crossing the floor. There was a statement that came out from his office, and I know confirmed by you with the MP directly, saying he is not going to cross the floor. Another MP that was rumored for weeks now was Dominique Vienne, Conservative MP from Quebec. She's put out a video saying there are rumors, I'm not going anywhere. So, you know, this is a defensive play from the Conservatives, and this is not where they like to be. Pierre Poilievre is known for being able to set that agenda, but he's found himself on his back feet in a way. And it is clear that there are still significant tensions simmering within this caucus, and this has been kind of a challenging month for them, because we can think back to a few weeks ago when Pierre Poilievre appeared on that YouTube channel talking about the leadership of the RCMP being despicable, and then suddenly we started hearing these leaks from caucus, people who are worried about his leadership, worried about his leadership potential. That hasn't gone away. In fact, it's probably at a higher level now than it was then. These are things that he's going to have to clamp down on, especially going into a leadership review in January.
Yeah, there are still people in the caucus I was speaking with who like still have questions about his tone and his judgment at times, but made the point they're Conservatives and they're staying Conservative, at least for now. Who knows? It's only Wednesday. Who knows what Thursday might bring? JP Tasker, Kate McKenna, thank you both for your reporting. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, David.
So CBC Halifax headed out to Chris D'Entremont's riding today to find out how his constituents felt about his defection to the Liberals.
Well, I'm kind of neutral on it. I'm not worried about it. As long as he's done a lot of good for us, and I'm not sure whether it bothered me that much or not.
It's upsetting. I supported Chris in the last election under Pierre Poilievre's leadership, as did my wife. So yeah, we were both kind of upset to see it happen, honestly.
I'm kind of glad, Rita, that Chris took his time to think about things that he wanted and he felt that we wanted. So I'm glad that he decided to cross over.
I'm glad that he did what he thinks I wanted without consulting me first. I can't even repeat that because that was very brutal. Did you hear what that guy just said? I'm glad that he took it upon himself to assume what us in his region, his constituents wanted, and so I support him. That doesn't sound like he actually consulted anybody or his constituents. He just did what he thought was best for self-interest. And that's a problem when it's a self-interest move like that. When you get elected to serve a certain group of people. And when you stop serving those people, you're no longer fulfilling your duty as a politician. And that is a huge, huge problem. But anyways, I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at question period. Questions without answers. All I ask is for you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're sitting at a few hundred likes. Let's pump them numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. Today should be a good day. This will be the last that we see of Pierre and Carney for a little bit, for the next 13 days or something like that, or 12 days. So let's have some fun. Well, let's have some fun. Here we go.
Chose to give tax breaks to elites purchasing private jets and yachts. My neighbors in Oshawa are clear. They do not want a costly election. They wanted an affordable budget. Conservatives want a hopeful future. For young people, we want homes, jobs, and hope. For our seniors, we want affordability. We want to bring back the
The honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, forestry is core to our Canadian identity and the backbone of communities across Canada. This vital sector provides good jobs, drives local economies, and keeps our towns and cities going. Recently, during Forestry Week, the Forest Products Association of Canada held its annual National Forestry Policy Conference here in Ottawa. This conference brought together leaders in forestry from across Canada. It advocated and brought forward ideas for the forestry sector and the over 200,000 jobs it sustains. I want to extend a special thanks to the workers who power this industry and all those who attended, because forestry supports our Canadian way of life, and as Canadians, we need to support the forestry sector. Not just during these trying times of trade disputes, but always. Let's work together across party lines to defend and grow this vibrant sector, because when forestry is strong, Canada is strong.
Yes. Honourable member for Columbia, Kootenay, Southern Rockies.
The Supreme Court's decision in this case is devastating. Two men were found with hundreds of images and videos of children.
Yeah, it's far too loud in the House for statements. As we know, these statements mean a lot to members and to their communities. So if the member could start from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Supreme Court's decision in this case is devastating. Two men were found with hundreds of images and videos of children, some as young as 3 years old. One had 317 images, mostly of little girls between 3 and 6. The other had hundreds of videos of children between 5 and 10. These are not victimless crimes. Every image is a real child, hurt, humiliated, and forever changed. These children deserve justice, not excuses. Yet the court chose to focus on theory instead of horrifying facts in front of them. Canadians know justice means protecting the most vulnerable among us. A future Conservative government will use the notwithstanding clause to overturn this ruling. We will restore mandatory minimum sentences for child sexual abuse material and ensure predators face the full weight of the law.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil-La Petite Nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the holiday season approaches, our communities are getting ready to help those who need it most. Food drives, which are run by volunteers with big hearts, remind us of the importance of solidarity and sharing. Every donation, large or small, helps ensure food security for disadvantaged families and offers a little comfort to those for whom this time of year can be hard. In Argenteuil-La Petite Nation, I would like to commend the incredible work of community organizations, food banks, parishes, and committed people who give of themselves so selflessly to ensure that no one is left behind. In this season of giving and of food drives, I invite all Canadians to give from the heart so that every family can celebrate Christmas with dignity and hope.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, this budget is a booby-trap blueprint that burdens the next generation with back-breaking bills and broken balances. While the Prime Minister boasts and brags, young Canadians are being buried beneath a $78 billion deficit bombshell.
He's sitting there.
That's not just a blunder, it's a brazen breach of trust. He blurted he'd bring down spending, but instead his first budget ballooned by $90 billion, bankrupting blue-collar breadwinners and blaming everyone but himself. Now interest payments on the national debt have ballooned beyond what we budget for health care transfers. And every household is being billed an extra $5,400 in bloated inflationary spending. A brutal blow to families already barely getting by. Basic needs are being bumped for banker buddies and bloated bureaucracy. And what's the bottom line for our youth? Bleak futures and broken dreams. Behind the buzzwords and back-patting, this budget is a bad bargain for Canadians. It's time to bring back balance, build responsibly, and break free from this cycle of borrowing, bluffing, and betrayal.
The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget is all about building Canada strong. It cares about people. That's why we see the dental program. That's why we see childcare. That's why we have a national school program that's going to be there for over 400,000 children. It is about building a community, Mr. Speaker. It's investing in Canada. Mr. Speaker, think of our hospitals. Think of our streets. Think of our bridges. Think about our communities. That's what this budget's all about. Investing in Canadians. The Conservatives, they don't believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker. But this Prime Minister, this government, we believe in Canada.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
6 months ago, the Prime Minister promised Canadians that he'd get the deficit under control, that he'd lower our debt and lower inflation. Instead, he's blown an $80 billion hole in the budget. The debt is climbing, inflation is climbing, and he's added $90 billion in new spending. That's over $5,000 for every family. Every dollar that the Prime Minister spends costs Canadians in higher taxes, higher inflation, and more expensive debt. With this budget, Canadians are paying champagne prices for tap water results. So why is he asking them to pay more?
Is this the start of question period?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
They didn't do the intro.
Mr. Speaker, I'll refer to the previous comments of the honourable member from Winnipeg North. This budget is about building this great country. And what this budget shows is that with the $1 trillion of investment that we are going to catalyze, we are going to put more than $3,000 in the pocket of every Canadian by the end of this decade.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
They're not investing in the next generation. They're borrowing from it. This Prime Minister is on track to be the most expensive in Canada's history. The only ones cashing in on it are bankers. Interest payments on the national debt will cost Canadians $55 billion this year. That's more than this government spends on health care and more than it collects in GST. Every dollar that Canadians pay in GST doesn't go to doctors or nurses or hospitals. It goes to bankers. So why is the Prime Minister so determined to make sure that bankers get better care than patients?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this budget preserves the health transfer to the provinces over $29 billion. This budget puts $5 billion into health infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, this budget has the lowest
where's all the conservatives
to
today?
GDP in the G7. It has the lowest deficit projected, and the cost of interest borrowing is lower than when the Conservatives were in government.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable, Le Binière. The cost of this Liberal budget is going to drive up the price of food, of housing, and everything else that Canadians need. The Prime Minister claims that Canada is in a strong fiscal position. Then why are families having such a hard time making ends meet? Home ownership is virtually impossible for young people. Why are 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks every month?
Where is Pierre's cabinet?
That's not solid. That's not strong. The Liberal leader has chosen to enrich his friends with an $80 billion deficit.
What is going on
Why
here?
is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to spend less by adding fuel to the fire of inflation?
No Pierre. Big part of the
Right
bench is
Prime
missing.
Minister. Mr. Speaker,
what
75% of the new measures in this budget this year are for protecting Canada's sovereignty and for affordability for all Canadians. First point. Second point, this is a budget that invests in Canada. It's a budget that shows confidence in Canada, a budget that's going to put more than $3,000 in the pockets of Canadians. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, this is a budget that is going to go down in history. This Prime Minister is going to go down in history as the most costly government leader in the history of Canada. I'd like to remind him of something important. Every dollar that he spends comes directly out of the pocket of a Canadian who's worked hard to earn it. He promised to spend less, and yet his deficit's going to be almost $80 billion. And in the Journal de Montréal, we read this morning that the federal government is disconnected from real life. What parallel universe is he living in, the Prime Minister? He doesn't understand that he's fueling inflation with his spending, and it's making life harder for every Canadian. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's not the most costly budget, it's the most ambitious budget. The most ambitious budget for Canada. It's ambitious when it comes to building housing for Quebecers and Canadians, housing across the country, for clean energy, for the future of Canada. This is a budget for the future.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East. This Prime Minister's $80 billion deficit will cost each Canadian household $5,400 while avoiding the tax pain he imposes on Canadians. Coming from the guy that set up a $30 billion offshore tax havens for Brookfield when he was chair. He continues to dodge questions on how much money he personally has stashed away offshore while avoiding the taxes he imposes on Canadians. Will he stand up today and tell Canadians how much money he has in offshore tax havens? Just the number.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr.
Why is he
Speaker.
answering in French?
Mr.
He was in
Speaker,
English.
Mr. Speaker, this budget tightens tax fairness. Mr. Speaker, this budget cuts taxes for 22 million. This budget cuts taxes on new homes for young Canadians starting out. This budget cuts the carbon tax. This budget grows this great country. Come with us and support it.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
He's avoiding the question like he helped Brookfield avoid taxes. When he imposes higher taxes on Canadians, they have a right to know if this Prime Minister still has money in offshore tax havens. I'll give him one more chance. Will he stand up on his own 2 feet and tell Canadians exactly how much money he has stashed away in offshore tax havens? Just the number.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of my record in the private sector, but I'm deeply honored to serve Canadians, and we're serving Canadians by building this great country, by investing in homes, by investing in energy, by investing in ports, by investing in our future. We are going to grow this country like not seen before. There is a chance for everyone in this House to stand up and support it.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Why are they cheering for the Bloc?
Mr. Speaker, for a Quebecer,
this is a weird day, man.
Means standing up for the independence of Quebec. We gave this government a chance. You know, they're in a recruitment campaign, and we said, could you eliminate discrimination when it comes to old age security that's paid to people who are age 65 to 74? They get 10% less than those who are 75 and over. All they had to do was say, yes, that's a principle of justice that we can follow. Does he recognize that he simply refused to help retirees? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in this budget, there is more than $80 billion in transfers for seniors across Canada. $80 billion. Yes, older seniors do get more, and that is justice. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, he didn't read his notes, he didn't read his budget. A second chance. We suggested to the government, it's one thing to build homes, but young people have to be able to afford to buy them. And we said to the government there should be a privileged access system to credit for young families who are buying a first home so that somebody can buy those first homes. The government refused that. Will the Prime Minister confirm that he refused to help young people buy a first home with access to credit?
Yeah, he wants all the homes to be built with Brookfield,
Prime Minister.
Modular homes and stuff.
Mr. Speaker, yes, there is an advantage for young people who are buying their first home, and that is justice. And that's on top of the big investments that we're making in housing. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. The priority of Quebecers and Canadians is also health care. We offered to work with the government to increase health care transfers so that they could follow the increases in spending across the health care system in Quebec and elsewhere in Canada. The government said no. Quebec and Canadian taxpayers are going to be paying more and more in taxes, or they're going to have less money to do other things. Will the government confirm that it refuses to increase the health transfers so that they can follow the increased costs on the systems? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have good news. Good news for Quebec. $12 billion in transfers for health care and $5 billion for infrastructure, for healthcare infrastructure in this budget. And there's $4 billion for Hydro-Quebec. There's the port in Contrecoeur. There's the second dock in Saguenay, and $500 million for culture, particularly for cultural institutions in Quebec.
The honourable member for Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. The Prime Minister doesn't seem to understand that the more he spends, the more things cost for regular Canadians. Liberals had a chance to lower food costs by scrapping the industrial carbon tax, but they chose to increase food costs by increasing the industrial carbon tax. That drives up costs like fertilizer and farm equipment. So why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for Canadians?
Yeah, way to go, man.
Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, if Conservatives vote against Budget 2025, they vote against old age security. They vote against guaranteed income supplements. They vote against the New Horizons for Seniors program.
Wow.
They vote against anti-fraud measures that will protect seniors from financial crime. They vote against a tax credit for personal support workers who care for seniors. And they vote against dental care that over 2 million seniors rely on. Canadians want to know, who are these Conservatives fighting for? Because it certainly isn't seniors.
The honourable member for Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, let me spell this out for the Liberals. No farms, no food. The food professor warns that we're the only country in the G7 that's seen 4 consecutive months of rising food inflation. The industrial carbon tax is driving up wholesale food prices, full stop. The Liberals have introduced another of the most costly and largest deficit budgets in Canadian history. So when Canadians are already struggling to put food on the table, why is the Prime Minister so intent on increasing the industrial carbon tax to make food more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of
They just want us taxed to death, it
Thank you,
seems.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me quote Sylvain Charlebois. Ottawa has quietly set the stage for some indirect relief, not through grocery subsidies and consumers facing policies, but through infrastructure, trade, administrative reforms that could make the food system work a little more efficiency. Mr. Speaker, our farmers have been asking for some of this stuff for a long time. Stand up and give it to them.
Yeah. Again, through the chair, please. The honourable member of for Ponoka Didsbury.
Mr. Speaker, this government
food is the most expensive in Canadian history, and every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more they spend, the more things cost. Unfortunately, this Liberal Prime Minister didn't learn anything from the mistakes of the last Liberal Prime Minister. They had a chance in their budget to lower food costs for Canadians by scrapping the industrial carbon tax, yet they chose to make food more expensive by increasing the industrial carbon tax, driving up the cost of fertilizer and farm equipment. So why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 delivers a stronger Alberta economy by backing workers and industries and innovators. It supports jobs and Alberta's economic edge.
That's a
Alberta
line.
Chamber of Commerce CEO Doug Griffiths said it's a clear commitment to driving economic growth and job creation. Conservatives can't stand up for Alberta if they won't listen to our business community.
Member for Ponoka-Didsbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal industrial carbon tax drives up the price of food. Since this Prime Minister took office, strawberries are up 25%, beef is up 25%, coffee is up 20%. The food professor Sylvain Charlebois told us that the widening gap between Canadian and American food prices was driven by one single factor, the carbon tax. He predicts bad news for 2026 and states that we're the only country in the G7 which has seen 4 consecutive months of a food inflation rate increase. Why is the Prime Minister insisting on making food more expensive for Canadians by raising
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, I am so proud to stand today and support a budget that is growing this country, but is also paying attention to rural communities. And I can tell you, in Newfoundland and Labrador, investment in roads, bridges, hospitals, houses, communities, it matters. And I'm asking my Conservative Newfoundland and Labrador colleagues, are they going to vote for the things that matter to our province?
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent, Leamington.
Mr. Speaker, this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians, and the more they spend, the more things cost. The Liberals just had a chance to lower food prices by scrapping the industrial carbon tax, but instead they chose to make food more expensive by hiking the industrial carbon tax that makes food, fuel, and farm equipment more expensive. These costs are passed directly on to Canadians at the grocery store. Why is the Prime Minister not scrapping the carbon tax and making food less expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
A phenomenal
Mr.
question
Speaker,
that
while the
won't get
Conservatives are
answered.
focused on imaginary taxes, we're building Canada strong, Mr. Speaker. And Budget 2025 invests $51 billion into the Build Community Strong Fund, Mr. Speaker. That's good news for families in southwestern Ontario, like my colleague from that area. This includes money for the Newton Athletic Park in Surrey. It includes the Royal Athletic Park in Victoria. It includes the Hamilton Downtown YMCA. It includes the Hamilton Sportif de Montreal. Mr. Speaker, we're going to build Canada strong, and that includes sports facilities for our communities. I hope that Member of Parliament will vote for our budget.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent, Leamington.
Mr. Speaker, the following is not imaginary. The food professor, go ahead, Mock, said, and I quote, "The gap between wholesale prices in Canada versus the U.S. wholesale prices has widened, and one factor driving that is the industrial carbon tax. Canada is the only G7 country that's had 4 consecutive months of food inflation increases. Farmers, manufacturers, builders across the country are paying more for fertilizers, steel, and concrete, costs that end up on Canadians' plates. While other G7 countries are lowering costs, this Prime Minister is ignoring the experts, increasing the carbon tax, and making food more expensive. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Very often quoted Sylvain Charlebois had exactly this to say about Budget 2025. Instead, he said our investments in logistics and corridors and trade will bring prices down for food. And the professor goes on, Mr. Speaker, to say that making the National Food Program
Speaker, is exactly what the food professor has called for.
The honourable member for Calgary Signal Hill.
Mr. Speaker, we now know that this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more the Liberals spend, the more life costs. Every economist knows this. The Prime Minister could have scrapped the inflationary industrial carbon tax. Instead, he chose to increase the tax and increase costs for all Canadians. My question to the Prime Minister is simple. Why is he increasing the industrial carbon tax and making our food more expensive?
Why? The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, here's what our government is doing. Last week, we worked with 9 different countries to announce 25 different transactions to bring $6.4 billion to 6 new mining and processing facilities all across this country. Voting for this budget will bring a lot more of that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the budget, it's the worst of both worlds. It's a Liberal deficit with Conservative ideas. Nothing for healthcare, nothing for seniors, environmental cuts. It's Stephen Harper all over again. And it's not me who said it, it's the government House Leader yesterday who said it, and I quote, "This is a budget that Conservative voters could love." The Liberals aren't even hiding it, except that Quebecers, they didn't vote Conservative. They didn't vote for cuts to healthcare. They didn't vote for our seniors to be abandoned. They didn't vote to end the fight against climate change. Why are the Liberals not meeting the demands of Quebecers? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers voted for 44 Liberal members on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you might remember who was president of La Disque in 2003. He was, it was the leader of the Bloc Québécois, and he was in favor of investments in Canadian culture at the time. And now the member is going to tell his members to vote against cultural investments for TV and music in Quebec for our artists. He's saying, no, we don't want those investments in Quebec. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, this is the budget of climate capitulation. Cuts of 15% to the Department of the Environment. Ending the cap on emissions in the oil and gas sector, tax credits for the oil and gas sector, and more. This morning, the Environment Commissioner was clear. He said that Canada would not be able to meet its greenhouse gas emissions reductions targets for 2030, and we're going even further back by ending carbon pricing. There's more money for the oil sector, less money for the environment. We're heading straight into the wall. Why are the Liberals keeping their foot on the gas? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, I say it every day, our government will continue to fight climate change, and if you look at the budget, you'll see the investments. There will continue to be industrial carbon pricing. We are going to reduce methane emissions, but not only that, if you look throughout the budget, you'll see that we are fighting climate change in every department of the government. We're going to do the work. We will build a strong Canada.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
The Toronto home building industry has released a scathing report on this government's budget, warning of 100,000 job losses in the sector, despite the Prime Minister promising 500,000 homes a year during the election. The government continues to refuse to implement our policy of cutting the GST on all new homes under $1.3 million. Now, housing starts have plummeted, and developers are laying off their trained staff because the cost of government is just too high. Why won't the government listen to the experts and cut the GST on all new homes under $1.3 million so builders can get back to work and building the homes that Canadians so desperately need?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, here's the reality check. The Conservative Party of Canada is voting against the largest investment in infrastructure in Canadian history, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of jobs, apprenticeship opportunities for our youth, opportunities to train the next generation. nation, Mr. Speaker. Roads, bridges, community centers, hospitals, you name it. Major projects in the national interest, homes, Mr. Speaker. None of this happens if the Conservatives vote against the budget. I hope they'll reconsider.
The honourable member for Parrystown, Muskoka.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if spending money could solve the housing crisis, we'd have a surplus right now. And this from a government who named a housing minister who made housing taxes 141% more expensive in Vancouver and also increased the prices of homes by 149%. We're in a housing crisis now, and it's clear this guy doesn't get it. The experts are warning of 100,000 job losses in the sector. So if the government won't listen to us and what we're saying about cutting the GST on homes under $1.3 million, why won't they listen to the experts?
Here. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the real question is, will the Conservatives support the most aggressive housing budget in Canadian history? Will you? Come on. Your new government is proposing the biggest investment in our history in affordable housing, putting Canadians to work, building the affordable housing that we need. We're seeing unprecedented levels of housing starts. We're seeing progress in housing right now, and we're doubling up on that. We're going to build. We expect your support on the budget to do more.
Again, to members, through the chair, I don't have an opinion on this. The honourable member for Newmarket, Aurora.
On Tuesday, Canadians saw the truth about this Liberal government's disastrous housing plan. They promised to build 500,000 homes a year, but turned into a plan to kill 100,000 jobs. Toronto's Build Association says the budget is particularly troubling. Not an actionable plan to reduce housing fees with any urgency. They promised to cut development charges by 50%, but surprise, another broken Liberal promise. Housing sales have collapsed, down 82% in the GTA. Will the Prime Minister finally admit he is not building homes, he's only building a long list of broken promises?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, this is a budget that will invest in Canada, invest in young Canadians, invest in Canadian families from coast to coast to coast. We are supporting youth by giving opportunities to help them build skilled trades and access high-paying careers and jobs across the projects, building homes, building out major national projects. We are investing in training and supports for 20,000 youth who are facing employment barriers, 24,000 additional Canada Summer Jobs opportunities, co-ops, internships, and apprenticeships across the country. We hope that members opposite will support young people and their opportunities for jobs.
Good job. The honourable member for Newmarket, Aurora.
We've heard this before. The recycled ideas in Canada's housing industry continues to fall. Housing sales are down 82% in the GTA. Toronto's Build Association warns that this budget is built on backward-looking data that provides false assurances. In simple terms, builders can build, sellers can sell, and buyers cannot buy. And not only that, this budget will cost 100,000 jobs and commit us to a future with fewer homes and fewer opportunities. Will the Prime Minister come to his senses and finally address the cost of development charges so we can unleash our housing construction?
Yes, the Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality, Tourism and Small Business.
Mr. Speaker, when Conservatives talk about affordability, what they really mean are cuts. Cuts to the programs that Canadians vitally rely on. Parents and families know that they can trust our government has their backs. We've strengthened the Canada Child Benefit, providing families nearly $8,000 for children under 6 and $6,570 for children aged 6 to 17. Through the budget, we are making permanent the National School Food Program, which will give parents peace of mind so that they can send their kids to school with a full meal. Mr. Speaker, well, what she was really referring to is the only thing recycled on that side of the House are their slogans, Mr.
The honourable member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends costs out of Canadians' pockets. The more he spends, the more everything costs. He promised to lower the debt to GDP ratio, he raised it. He promised to spend less, but he has blown $90 billion, costing every family $5,400. Now spends more on interest payments than health care, spending $55.6 billion to service debt while Canadians struggle to pay for grocery and housing. When will the Prime Minister stop mortgaging Canadians' future and deliver an affordable budget for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, that member has risen in this House many times to address public safety concerns, and I know that his constituents in Brampton have those concerns because they're my constituents too, Mr. Speaker. In this budget, there are historic investments, $1.7 billion to the RCMP. We're deploying 1,000 new officers and 1,000 new CBSA agents, Mr. Speaker. But the Conservatives have said they're not going to support it. But it doesn't surprise me since their leader thinks the RCMP is despicable.
The Honourable Member for Brome-Missisquoi. Mr. Speaker.
If you think that today's a weird day for question period,
infrastructure problems and
you would
housing,
be correct.
And it doesn't just affect urban ridings, but also rural ridings like mine, Brome-Missisquoi. The government has committed to investing in housing and infrastructure as part of the Canada Strong budget, a once-in-a-generation investment. Can the Minister of Finance tell the House what steps are being taken to build more boldly and quickly than ever before in ridings like mine? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have all kinds of good news for Canadians, but we only have 30 seconds to explain to Canadians, yes, with Build Canada Homes, we're going to build more affordable homes. And together with the communities, we're going to invest in water and other municipal infrastructure. And yes, we have a fund for health infrastructure, like Quebec asked for. All members in this House should stand up in favor of this generational budget to help the next generation to build Canada strong. We believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
I don't know what's going on today. This is a weird day. Half the Conservatives are missing.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister introduced his first budget, much more costly than Canadians anticipated. A $78 billion deficit is a high hurdle to get over, but the fiscal year is not final yet, and this government has never set a spending target they haven't blown past. Don't worry, there's more debt ahead, and the next 5 years of forecast deficits have doubled under this Prime Minister. And I'll correct the Prime Minister, because 10 years ago under the last Conservative administration, debt servicing was $28 billion and going down. It's $55 billion going up now. So why is the Prime Minister choosing to ignore the inflation he's causing and driving up costs for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, this is a generational budget that will increase Canada's economic competitiveness and prosperity. That's good news for our small, medium, and large businesses. The President and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Candice Lang, says the government has heard businesses call to focus on the economy and has made some tough choices to attract investment. Mr. Speaker, this is about building the strongest economy in the G7. I hope we can count on our colleagues' support.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Centre.
Well, that wasn't an answer to the question. I think it was a lot of fantasy at the end of the day. But this government, once again, has revised its so-called fiscal anchors. That's another target they keep missing. No problem, just change the definition. This year's anchors are so weak, they're practically meaningless. When you change definition to fit your narrative, you undermine trust and accountability. Canadians deserve stability, not a government that moves the goalposts whenever it suits them. Mr. Speaker, Canada's fiscal position is adrift. Will the minister admit this budget has no fiscal responsibility and his so-called anchors are a political spin? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, this government recently announced a 3-year extension of Operation Reassurance. Canada's largest overseas military mission with over 2,000 CAF members stationed in Latvia. Is this member seriously suggesting that Canada should not pass a budget which allows us to give the strongest expression of our commitment to NATO as Canadians reinforce NATO's eastern flank by contributing to collective defence and cooperative security in the region? Mr. Speaker, Canada is leading a 14-nation multinational brigade there. I would suggest the members opposite join us, support our Canadian armed forces.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more he spends, the more things cost. The Prime Minister promised Canadians that he'd keep the deficit less than $62 billion. Instead, it's $78 billion. He told Canadians he'd get rid of the consumer carbon tax, but instead, the industrial carbon tax is set to rise and make food even more expensive by driving up the cost of fuel, fertilizer, and farm equipment. Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax, and why does he want to make food more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, a working-class Canadian voting Conservative would be like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. My goodness, Mr. Speaker, when I took to people who live in rural Nova Scotia, they want simple things. They want good jobs, better health care, lower taxes, and this budget delivers all three. You don't have to take my word for it. Listen to a statement from the provincial Progressive Conservative government in Nova Scotia, who congratulated the Prime Minister on his budget based on more money for health care infrastructure, for housing and development, and for tax incentives that are going to create good jobs for the people who live in my communities.
That's progressive conservatives.
The country know this is a good idea. The only conservatives who seem to disagree are the ones who sit on the other side of this house.
I mean, that was a bit of a slap in the face. What do you do?
The honourable member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Témiscouata.
I don't know
Mr.
what's
Speaker,
going on
the Liberals
today.
have tabled the
The
costliest
Conservatives are
budget with
getting
the
their
biggest
asses
deficit in
kinda
Canadian
handed,
history
it
outside of
seems
the
like.
pandemic. It will drive up the price of food, housing, and everything Canadians need. And it's our families who are paying the price at the grocery store
really
for
clapping
the
back.
industrial carbon tax that
Morale's
this
low.
government has hiked.
No one's
A few
there.
weeks ago, I asked for an answer on behalf of a constituent in La Pocatière who was forced to choose between housing and feeding her family. We didn't get any answer. Why is this Prime Minister hiking the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for my constituent and all Canadians? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'm a bit surprised by my colleague's reaction. In this budget, there is help for Lévis and La Pocatière. In this budget, and I met with people from Napierville in my riding. We have one of the biggest borders in Quebec. $1.7 billion to strengthen border security. That's what this budget has for all of us, and I'm sure that other constituents are supportive of this too. The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals had a chance to ease the burden on Canadians, but since this Prime Minister took office, prices have skyrocketed. Strawberries up 25%, beef 25%, and coffee 20%. It's unbelievable. The industrial carbon tax is adding to the price gap with the U.S. and is likely to keep food inflation high. This is according to Professor Sylvain Charlebois. He said it'll stay that way for years to come. Mr. Speaker, once again, why is this government hiking this tax and making food even more expensive for our families? The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, we're going to build Canada strong with generational investments in infrastructure. Budget 2025 holds $5 billion for an infrastructure and health fund, which will contribute to building new hospitals, ERs, care centers, and medicine faculties. To name a few, this is what the provinces and territories asked us to do, and that's what we've done. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear, Mr. Speaker. Conservatives are for tax cuts to leave more money in the pockets of Canadians. Do you know where the Liberals have chosen to cut taxes? Try to stay in your seat here. Private aircraft and luxury yachts. This is no joke. It's for Liberal cronies. That's where they're cutting taxes. I would invite people to speak to single parents, to go to grocery stores and speak to seniors, whether they want tax cuts or lower food prices.
Minister of Indigenous Services.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'invite.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd invite my colleague on the other side of the House to talk to all of his constituents, because in this budget, we decided to protect the position of First Nations. It's important also that we included infrastructure investments for water and housing. It's also important to invite the opposition to work with us to protect First Nations. And I know that there are some in his riding. Thank you. The honourable member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, the federal government is disconnected from reality. She talks about First Nations, but I was talking about luxury jets and yachts. So the answer had nothing to do with my question. There are people suffering and struggling. Nothing for our seniors. Who decided to cut taxes on luxury yachts and jets? The honourable member. Well, it's tiring when a member from Quebec stands up and suggests that aerospace is not important in Quebec. That industry is very important. Bombardier announced 600 new jobs in Quebec yesterday. My colleague, as a former colleague of François Legault in Quebec City, should be calling François Legault and telling him what he thinks about this news.
The honourable member for Haldimand and Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, in a democracy, everything can be debated, but some moral lines should never be blurred. Protecting vulnerable children must remain one of them. The Supreme Court recently struck down a one-year mandatory prison sentence for two men who possess hundreds of sexual images of children, some as young as 3 years old. These are real victims of abuse and trauma. Why is this government more focused on protecting the charter rights of pedophiles rather than defending the dignity of
Somebody
children?
call for public executions.
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, plain and simple, child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian
they should be
law.
publicly
Mr.
executed.
Speaker, we are bringing forward legislation that is going to protect children. I hope the Conservatives can support it because their past record is that they haven't supported the online harms legislation. They haven't supported lawful access tools for law enforcement so we can catch child predators. They put politics before the safety of our children, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Haldimand, Norfolk.
The sexual exploitation of children is one of the clearest and most horrific crimes imaginable. Recently, the Supreme Court struck down the one-year mandatory sentence for possessing child sexual abuse material. Yet this government refuses to use Section 33 of the Charter, the notwithstanding clause, to restore the minimal penalties for pedophiles. Why is this government choosing to protect the charter rights of predators over the safety and the innocence of our children?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I've said before, child predators are the worst criminals in our country, and they should face the toughest sentences. Mr. Speaker, that is exactly why we're bringing forward new legislation so that we can toughen sentences and make sure child predators stay behind bars, Mr. Speaker. But I would like the Conservatives to promise that they will support that piece of legislation and they will support C-19 that is currently before this House because they have not supported us in the past when it comes to helping children and to protecting children. So please put your politics aside and support the children of this country.
What the fuck up? You want to protect the kids in the country? Start calling for actual punishments for these people.
Member for Cumberland, Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 is a generational investment in our economy, in our industries, and in Canadians. Canadians are paying lower prices for cellular services, a 40% decline in prices over 5 years. But these bills still eat into the pockets of Canadians. Budget 2025 has proposed measures to lower costs for Canadians and to improve competition. At a time when Canadians are concerned with rising costs and keeping their monthly bills affordable, can the Minister of Industry tell us how the government is working to lower cell phone bills?
The Honourable
They're
Minister of
talking about
Industry.
predators, and then she switches
Cumberland,
to
Colchester, for her important question.
cell phone bills.
She and I are laser focused, and this government laser focused on making sure that we bring down costs in the telecom sector, because we took the right decision this summer to uphold the decision of the CRTC to increase competition in the telecommunications sector. We said also that we would be hawkish on competition, so we will do more in this budget to increase competition and make sure that we reform our telecommunications sector. Thank you so much.
The honourable member for Edmonton Northwest.
Liberals have introduced the most costly and largest budget deficit in history outside of COVID. The cost of this Liberal budget will drive up the cost of food, housing, and everything else Canadians buy. The young families, seniors, and veterans in Edmonton Northwest are having to make hard choices as the snow falls. It's costing more to heat their homes and feed their families. But every day in this House, the Liberals say families are just imagining higher living expenses by their taxes and increased spending. So why is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to spend less and pouring more inflationary fuel on the fire?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Defence Procurement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budget 2025 will enable Canada to step up to meet the moment, to include $82 billion for defence and security. And here's a fun fact, Mr. Speaker. Stephen Harper's 2009 budget, adjusted for inflation, is actually the biggest deficit budget in Canadian history, with little to show for it. We'll take no lessons from the Conservatives.
The honourable member for Kitchener South, Hespeler.
Adjusted for the inflation that they caused. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' new budget is generationally expensive. It is historically expensive. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends will come out of Canadians' pockets. The more they spend, the more things will cost. Either through taxes or inflation in the future, the cost will come. $80 billion is $2,000 for each man, woman, and child in our country. That's $2,000 for my 3-year-old daughter and $2,000 for my 1-year-old son. Why should they have to pay this generational debt the Prime Minister is saddling us with? Why is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to spend
they
less?
shouldn't have to pay.
The Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
This budget invests in lowering the cost of living and creating jobs, including $2 billion for the Critical Minerals Sovereign Fund. Critical minerals are in our phones, computers, solar panels, medical equipment, and more. Canada is rich in minerals, with projects in ridings held by Conservatives, Bloc Québécois, NDP, and Liberals, including in my home, the Northwest Territories. These investments mean good jobs, including in Ontario, stronger communities, and keeps Canada a leader in technology, defence, and healthcare. The Mining Association of Canada has applauded the budget, and I hope members opposite will too.
The honourable member for Elmwood Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, this government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more they spend, the more things cost. Nearly $80 billion in deficit spending. That means $450 a month coming right out of Canadians' pockets. This will make it even harder for Canadians to buy groceries and pay their bills. Instead, we get a bloated bureaucracy and high-priced consultants. Why does this Prime Minister believe he can spend hardworking Canadians' money better than they can?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we're focused on securing our sovereignty in the North and the Arctic with a $1 billion infrastructure fund for airports, seaports, all-season roads in North and in Northern Manitoba. We're focused on a $2.3 billion clean water for Indigenous communities. They're voting against an Inuit Nunangat University to build skills and hopes for Northern youth. We are focused on building, protecting, and empowering Canadians. They need to get on board.
The honourable member for Honoré Mercier.
Mr. Speaker, residents in my riding have expressed concern about the cost of living. Budget 2025 is full of great initiatives that will empower them and Canadians across the country.
It's kind of turned into a bit of a fight club. I'm here for it.
this House who would like to hear the member from the top?
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues are very excited to hear me today. Budget 2025 is full of great initiatives that will empower them and Canadians across the country to get ahead financially. Increasing competition is one way to achieve affordability, and in Budget 2025, there are several pro-affordability measures related to making the financial sector more competitive. Can the Secretary of State for the CRA and financial institutions inform this House about how the government is making life more affordable for Canadians by reforming the financial sector?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for that important question. In our generational budget, Canada's new government is making life more affordable for Canadians by making our financial system more competitive and innovative. Among other things, we are providing Canadians with more financial options by helping credit unions and smaller banks grow and compete, advancing open banking, which will make it easier for Canadians to find lower fee checking accounts, cheaper loans, and higher interest savings. On this side of the House, we're laser focused on making life more affordable for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
The Prime Minister told Canadians that they need to sacrifice more to pay for the Liberals' inflationary deficit. But the Liberals sure aren't sacrificing much, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, an Ottawa gossip rag feted the Liberals for attending a lavish deficit cocktail party hosted by rich Ottawa insiders, lobbyists, and media firms who were thrilled with the billions of tax dollars for their wealthy clients and owners. Will the Liberals apologize for popping champagne corks with rich lobbyists to celebrate a massive inflationary deficit while Canadians can't even afford a case of beer?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Canada wants the investment that this budget affords all Canada needs, and we're going to stand in support of rural Canada, Mr. Speaker. And in Saskatchewan, I'm going to tell our MPs, the Conservative MPs, Saskatchewan is watching, and all we're asking you guys to do was what you've been doing for the last 10 years on the budget vote. Sit this one out so that Saskatchewan can finally get help from the province to reach its full potential. Come on board.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
There was much hype about this budget. Much has already been made public in the pre-budget announcements. My question is not about is what is not in the budget. The impact of the 15% cut across most departments, including the loss of 40,000 workers, is buried in buzzwords like streamlining, modernizing, and recalibrating. Will the Prime Minister tell Canadians what programs are being cut, which ones will end when the funding sunsets, and how people in our communities will be impacted? Canadians deserve to know.
Hear, hear.
Honorable Ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for the very important question that she asked. I think she will have seen in the budget that we remain true to our values, Mr. Speaker, Canadian values. We made sure that while we do a budget which is focused on the future and investment, that we protect people, that we protect childcare, that we protect pharmacare, that we protect dental care. You know what, Mr. Speaker? Because we understand on this side of the House that affordability and supporting Canadians at a time like this is essential, but at the same time we're going to build a great future, Mr. Speaker. We're going to take care of Canadians today because we believe in Canada.
Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
It's increasingly clear that this government's budget fails to deliver the transformational change promised and fails to meet the moment. It fails to provide any relief right now for the millions of Canadians suffering through an affordability crisis. 60% are having trouble meeting their monthly expenses. Half are using credit cards or borrowing money for daily needs, paying interest rates of 19% or more. Why did the Liberals fail to provide concrete measures to help the millions of Canadians who need help now?
Mr. Speaker, I'm very glad for the question from my colleague. It's a very important question, and he will remember that the first thing we did for Canadians was to cut tax for 22 million Canadians, because we understand that affordability is at the heart of the concerns of Canadians. But more than that, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure you will have seen in the budget an initiative that I know he supports, because we talked about that, Mr. Speaker, when we made automatic benefits to Canadians, Mr. Speaker. That's the way we want to do. We want to cut red tape, support Canadians, and build a great country together.
Holy shit. Oh my goodness, that's brutal. Absolutely brutal. Look at all the empty seats for the Conservatives. This is what I don't understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in just that frame right there. Not to mention any seats from the backbenchers that are empty. Super weird day. Super weird day. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. But I think that Conservatives need some reassurance from the party, because the parties, I don't think the Conservative Party of Canada is doing an adequate job right now of reassuring its supporters that everything's going to be all right. Carney's on the brink of a majority without an election, and it feels like it's getting that much closer to happening. You've got a Conservative that's already successfully switched over, rumors of more Conservatives that are potentially going to switch over, giving Carney that majority without an election. Then they would pass the budget themselves. Like, there's a bunch of shit that's going on. I don't like it. I don't like it. And where's the leadership from the Conservative Party? Pierre hasn't even talked about the fact that his MP left his party, quit, or he fired him on the day of the budget. Like, that was a Freeland thing, right? I know he wasn't delivering the budget, but Conservatives in Canada deserve the reassurance from the leadership of the Conservative Party. Because when shit gets difficult, you don't just disappear. And when you do, people lose confidence in you. And if you don't give a message of like, hey, we lost this battle, but we haven't lost the war, or whatever the hell, then people are just going to abandon your cause. And so I think that there needs to be some damage control, and it needs to be done quickly. But that's just me, folks. That's just me. I'm seeing the turnout from QP today. Very sad. Even Carney was there and Pierre wasn't, and Pierre's MPs weren't there. Like, it's just bizarre. Backwards world. We're going to have to wait and see, though. That's the end of QP for the week. They don't really do anything tomorrow. Maybe there's press conferences later today and tomorrow, but no QP tomorrow, no QP next week. So I'll see you guys. What is it? November 17th or something like that. November 17th, Monday, November 17th. I'll see you guys back on this channel then. I've got some videos that are going to be rolled out between now and then, but not too many. But stay tuned. Peace and love. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good weekend. Have a good week off from watching Question Period.